So again, we're just delighted to have folks here, and Brother John Anderson from Kansas City is going to be playing a key role through this evening, as we've been wanting to be able to tap Brother John's wonderful singing skills and just the whole vibe and passion Brother John brings for this work of racial justice, and we're doing it tonight. So thrilled about that and having my friend taking part in that way. But we want to welcome everyone to this hour of hope and witness. And as we go through this program tonight, I'm going to be sharing 5 things with you about interwoven congregations, just dropping them in as we move along. And the first one that I want to lift up for you. Here we go. 5 things about interwoven. And number 1 is, well, what are we about anyway? What is the mission that we have as an organization? And our purpose has been to help faith communities of all traditions be agents for racial justice and healing. And of course, we're doing that in a climate today that is marked by some pretty significant things. This pretty aggressive attack against and the ideals of diversity and racial justice, but also feeling that there's a lack of understanding. We're learning ourselves every day, but a lack of understanding around systemic racism. We're still segregated in our worshiping time. And many congregations are maybe a little unsure of how to go about doing this racial justice work, or perhaps could just use a partner for the journey. And then finally, we all can run out of steam a little bit when it comes to this work. These are some of the challenges in our society today that beckon us forward to do this work together. And I want to invite you, when you have a moment sometime on our website, you can catch a little bit of the backstory of how Interwoven got started. And you'll read about Queen Mother Maxine McFarland, but you'll also get a little further insight into why it is that we're doing this work. But we are fully called to working hand in hand with folks of all faith traditions to promote racial justice and healing. With that, I want to turn it over to Brother John for our opening song.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Pat, I was honored to have that opportunity to go across and experience one of my bucket lists, Selma, Alabama, the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And one thing you notice of participants, unlike many bridges that you may have experienced, this particular bridge, as we're walking up, you notice you cannot see the other side. As we're going up that slow incline there, you cannot see the other side. So I'm imagining those freedom fighters, those protesters that doing, particularly you may have noticed the movie Bloody Sunday. I hear this experience where after they came over the precipice and they had to look down at the top of the bridge, they're looking down and they're heading into the bowels of the dragon. They're fading it face to face. And I imagine many probably had these words as I had the opportunity to be able to champion myself along with my group of brothers in the Interwoven Interfaith Celebration Civil Rights Pilgrimage. Words something like this. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, oh, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I gotta keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom land. Ain't gonna let racism turn me around. Hey, turn me around. Come on, turn me around. Ain't gonna let racism turn me around. I gotta keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom land. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around. Whoa, turn me around. No, turn me around. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around. I gotta keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom land.
Thanks so much, Brother John. I remember so vividly you singing those words going across this bridge. Well, there's a second thing I wanted to share with folks during our program. Who are we anyway? So I wanted just to give you a clue and a little insight into the Interwoven team. I'm really honored and blessed to share in the work with our governing board with Brother John, Pastor Chuck, Monique, Nadia, and myself. And then we have a very distinguished advisory board, drawing people from across the country, Antone and Reverend Michael Brooks from the Kansas City area, Reverend Janet from Charlotte, Reverend Juan Guthrie, pardon me, dropping Juan's last name there, Reverend Juan Guthrie in the district, and Phyllis, of course, also in Bethesda, Catherine Meeks down in Atlanta, Steve Schindler in Connecticut, and then Ambassador Andrew Young is also a member of the advisory board, which is a great honor for us. I recently was on a 3-week visit in the US, doing tours to a number of cities, meeting with congregations, but had an opportunity to spend a day, different parts of a day, with Ambassador Andrew Young when I was in Atlanta. I went to his office. We had this event scheduled on the evening of September 18th, and I'd called his staff at the Andrew Young Foundation and asked if I might be able to stop by and visit with the ambassador, for 15 or 20 minutes that afternoon. They were very gracious and invited me into, his office area, just on the side of downtown Atlanta. And his office feels like you're in a museum. All of these mementos drawing from times that the ambassador was working with people around the country and indeed around the world. It was quite something to be in that space and then to be able to sit down with the ambassador for 20 minutes that just continued to roll until we spent 90 minutes together. He began telling some stories, and I had to stop and say, Mr. Ambassador, would you mind if I captured a few of these words? And he very graciously said, sure, go ahead. So what is gonna follow here are a few anecdotes that he shared with me as we were visiting that afternoon. And then the video is going to carry on into the evening when we made a special award presentation to the ambassador, and he offered some brief remarks. This video clip runs about 12 minutes. So I invite you to settle in and listen to this icon from the civil rights movement, whose work is not done, but continues around the world today.
But the first time I came to Atlanta, I was 14 years old, and I came from New Orleans to a YMCA conference.
Yep.
And the Ku Klux Klan paraded down Peachtree Street. I mean, really, but no, down Peachtree Street, but also Auburn Avenue, which was right through the black community. That was, what, 1946. And I said, we've come a long, long way. And I think because after Martin Luther King's death, the last night before he went to Memphis, we were talking about how the movement needed to graduate and migrate into politics, that we shouldn't have to have 1,000 people march to get books for the school children.
Yeah.
See, and we should be able to elect people to represent the needs of the community, regardless of race, creed, color, and national origin. And we've done that fair here in Atlanta, but we worked very hard on it. See, and I also had a 6th grade teacher that took our class to a federal courtroom to see Thurgood Marshall argue a case for the equalization of teachers' salaries. And this was about 41 also.
What did you think of Thurgood Marshall?
I didn't understand a word he was saying, but he was so impressive. One, he was about 6'3", and a heavy bass voice. And all I can remember is him citing these cases, and the clerk running back to the judge's library to get the books. And when he brought them out, Thurgood said, "Your Honor, I think you'll find that on page 265 in the upper right-hand corner."
Wow.
And I said, "Damn." And this brother is brilliant. So, it was way back in 1970, and I had the mayor, then Sam Massell, well, he asked me to be the co-chair of it was a community relations commission. And then they called me with a crisis. The Walter George High School, named for the senator from Georgia. The courts had ordered the schools to integrate teachers. And they said, "Would you go down and see what you can do?" Said all the black teachers are lined up on one side of the cafeteria, and all the white teachers on the other. And so when I got there, I don't even know when I thought of it, but I said, "Look, you all on each side, why don't you just come to the table? And you across from somebody you probably don't know." I said, "Which is perfect." And I said, "I want you to you decide who goes first. I want you to share the worst experience you've had in your life with somebody of the opposite race."
Wow.
But just take 2 minutes each. And you take 2 minutes, you take 2 minutes. And then when you get through with that, we'll stop. And
what happened?
Everybody started talking. And then I said, "Now, I want you each to remember the best situation you have been in with somebody of the opposite race, and share that." And they did. And by that time, they were talking very freely and comfortably, laughing. And when we finished in 10 minutes, I said, "Thank you very much." And they said, "Well, what else do we have to do?" I said, "Nothing." I said, "Your problem was it was uncomfortable talking about race. And you just talked about race. And now you can talk about race with each other. And you can continue this exercise as long as you want to. But don't be afraid to talk about differences."
Wow.
But instead of them being something that divides us, now it's something that brings us together, because we can each share an experience that was uncomfortable or that was thrilling. And I left, and they never had any more problem. I mean, I was not there but a half an hour.
Wow. Quite an impact.
Yeah. But it was an impact on me too, because I was desperate. I didn't know what to do until
So, Ambassador Young, on behalf of Interwoven Congregations, we're honored to award you the first annual award for racial justice and healing to Ambassador Andrew Young for a lifetime of service to the nation and to the world. I've invited Pastor Andrews at this moment, before the ambassador offers some remarks, just to offer a prayer of gratitude for the service of the ambassador.
Let us pray. Most merciful God, we are so grateful now, because when we count our blessings, Lord, Ambassador Andrew Young is one of the big blessings of all of our lives. We thank you, Lord, for this day, and we thank you, Lord, for his leadership and for his generosity. We thank you, Lord, that he just won't quit. He just keeps going, Lord. And no matter what, Lord, he gives us hope when we think there is no hope. He gives us something to aspire to when we think all is lost.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming together like this. I'm not going to talk long. In fact, we're a 15-minute church on a good first Sunday, and I'm going to try to keep it to 10 minutes. I think I got ordained when I was 22, and I was 20, and I'm 93 now. I say this to encourage you that while I don't feel no ways tired, I'm old and I hurt, and I've given it my best up to now. When I came to this town, the first time, it was less than 500,000 people. It's 5.5 million now. And I came back when I was 30, because Martin Luther King was moving back from Montgomery, and he had gotten stabbed in New York by a demented black woman. That's what made his parents want him to come back here, because they thought he'd be safer. But when I got here, this was a country town. And John Wesley Dobbs, who's the street is named after, I bumped into him, and he asked me, would I mind doing a voter registration drive? And I said, no, I'd be glad to. And I ended up doing my first voter registration drive in 1954 down in Thomasville and Beachton, Georgia. Now, I had 40 members in one church and 18 in the other. I don't know how I got from there to here, but they were always picking me up where I was, being happy, and sending me somewhere else because something else needed to be done. And that's sort of what I've done. And when I first came to Atlanta and asked how could I help Martin Luther King, his secretary came out with an egg crate packed with letters, tied up in bundles of 100 each, and said, the most difficult problem Martin Luther King has right now is he can't answer his mail, and he desperately wants to answer his mail. So he said, will you take the mail and try to answer it? Well, my wife was still in Marion, Alabama, I had a room over here at the Butler Street YMCA, which is no more, and I'd go there every night, and I'd write the answer to maybe 100, 120 letters until I got sleepy, and then I'd take them back to his secretary, and she'd type them up, and after I'd done about 1,000 or so, she said, Dr. King wants to know how you know what he wants to say. And I said, well, you know, I went to Howard, he went to Morehouse, and I went to seminary in Connecticut, and he went in New York State, I think, and Boston University. And I said, I don't know. But one thing has led to another. So whether you like it or not, the Lord done laid his hands on you and you can't get away from it. And as I can't get away from it and don't want to. But I don't think I've been a success, but I know I've been more, I'm not neither failure. We've done many, many impossible things. But I thank you for being here, and I thank you for telling me that I don't have to worry about things happening. If I should die tomorrow, I know things are going to carry on, and people will do much more than I have done.
You're broken down and tired, living life on a merry-go-round. You can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we're gonna walk it on out. Move mountains, we're gonna walk it on out. Move. And I'll rise up, rise like the day, I'll rise up. Rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the waves, I'll rise up. In spite of the aches, I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you. Point to someone. For you, for you. The silence isn't quiet. Feels like it's getting hard to breathe. I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Move mountains, bring it to its feet. Move mountains and rise up. I rise like the day, I rise up. I rise unafraid, I rise up. And I do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you. All we need is hope. And for that we got each other. And for that we have each other. And we'll rise. We will rise. We will rise. We will rise. I'll rise up. Rise like the day. I'll rise up. In spite of the aches, and I'll rise 1,000 times again. And we'll rise up in spite of the ache. We rise up, oh, we rise up. We do it 1,000 times again. for you, for you, for you, for you.
Thank you, Brother John. That was awesome. Rise up. Well, number 3 about interwoven congregations in this hour. And I just want to say as an aside, of course, many thanks to everyone for gathering on this evening on this fall fundraiser. I know Phyllis is going to place in the chat the links for if folks would like to make a donation to Interwoven, and also how to sign up for the Interwoven Network. I'll be saying a little bit more about that. But the third thing we wanted to share today is, what is our approach to racial justice anyway? And we think about it in 4 ways. And I'd be curious to what people here on the Zoom room would think. What are 4 things that you think we need to do for racial justice? You could be thinking about a congregation, you could be thinking about just a group of individuals, or just you yourself. What are 4 things that you would imagine? You can even drop one of them into the chat. What do we think it takes to move forward for racial justice? I'm going to share with you the 4 things that we focus on. And the first one is understanding systemic racism. Really getting a handle on how systems impact our life across society, not just individual racism, but systemic racism. The second, building relationships across the divide of race. Third, taking action. And then fourth, how are we going to keep going? How do we sustain the work? And those are the 4 themes that we work around. So when we're working on understanding systemic racism, we're working with congregations around resources, gathering with folks, online for impactful readings and engaging resources, going to one of those exhibits that's been described as being inappropriate for our nation, too negative for our nation. Well, we believe that we can love our nation and still seek to hold it to account. And that means facing the reality of what's been in our history and our reality today, which presents challenges, but also hope. That's understanding systemic racism. Then we're working with congregations around building relationships across this divide of race. And we're doing that through a series of tools and resources. But one I want to lift up to you tonight is the Interwoven Congregations conversation cards, decks with 40 conversational prompts to get small groups engaged in discussing matters around race, kind of like the ambassador was talking about in that school lunchroom. I've shared online how, this evening, just as an added measure of gratitude for folks who are able to make a donation of 150 or more, we'll go ahead and send you one of the decks for your use, just as an added thank you for your support tonight. But this is a tool that we hope will be helpful with dialogues around racial justice for individuals and congregations today. Then there's taking action, which can be connecting with local justice organizations, actually marching, helping folks get from Georgia to DC for testimonies, and then focusing on how do we promote voting for everybody. So many ways that we can take action today for racial justice. And then how do we sustain this work? How do we care for ourselves in the midst of doing the work for racial justice and healing, which can take a toll? How do we develop and undergird ourselves spiritually for this work? And so I want to commend to you the sacred text resource on the Interwoven website and also on our network. There's also, of course, the important act of coming together for shared worship, where different congregations can come and together remind ourselves of how we're called to not just love God, of course, but also love one another and see the divine in each and every person. Our hope is that our faith can be an encouragement for us, maybe a challenge for us at times, perhaps even keeping us accountable, but then also lifting us up, giving us the inspiration from prophets across the centuries to writings across our various traditions so that we can continue to do this work for racial justice and healing. One of the ways that we've engaged this work is through pilgrimages. Sometimes we've done them locally, as with an Eastern Shore pilgrimage to follow the trail of Harriet Tubman. But then as Brother John opened us up with this evening, singing from the William Pettus Bridge in Selma, we had this very impactful pilgrimage with just a few of us from our boards and a couple partners who joined. And we wanted to take you all over the span of about 9 or 10 minutes on this pilgrimage that we experienced, both through a couple video clips and then some reflections of some of the folks who went on the pilgrimage with us.
The footprint of this trip was, from where my dad was born, where my mom was born, where my parents met, where I was born, where, I spent time, my sister spent time. I couldn't not go just because of that, call, the call home that I felt. And I guess beyond that, I could say that for Black people, this was our history that was being reclaimed by storytelling, the storytelling that I would hear. I couldn't not go.
By way of just summarizing, I would say it was an awakening, an awareness. There was a lot of anger, a lot of anxiety. I was really disturbed by the economic condition of Selma. It was interesting and a little sad to see the lack of economic development around the Edmund Pettus Bridge and the surrounding area. Makes you want to just find somebody to give me enough money to buy the city and just do some redevelopment. Starting in Montgomery with just the sheer volume of the lynchings that took place and the number of lives that have been lost, and constantly having this argument or this discussion about whether reparations is appropriate. But let me thank you for the experience. It was life-changing. I've taken on the task of sharing and unpacking it with my congregation, and hopefully there will be a trip with our kids in the coming future in the summertime. But it was life-changing for me.
I remember we part of the pilgrimage on the last legs, we journeyed to Montgomery, Alabama. And it was the last day. And see, that was the courthouse, of course, after the journey from Selma there that day. We marched and got a great opportunity through this experience to meet, I would call my brother from another mother, Mr. Brother Nick. Yeah, so got a chance. And it was also the dialogue, talking, getting to know each other, and as well building that relationship and the kinship of finding out, as the Ambassador Young said, not be afraid to talk about differences, and so being able to share. But I remember this last day, that morning, and we were at this five-star hotel downtown Montgomery. It was right next to the Hank Williams Museum. And so me and Nick were down there in the lobby. And I remember Nick the night before had asked a question to the concierge. I said, say, this is a nice building, the ornate design, everything. How old is it? And the concierge said, it was built back in the mid-20s or so. I'm like, wow, over 100 years old, beautiful condition. And so we had a chance to like, hey, we got to take a pic. So we saw Pat there in the morning like that and say, hey, take a pic for us just for posterity. Remember this occasion. And so, and I remember, however, the night before, well, actually that morning when I woke up, it just like, boom, it's kind of like shot me out of bed. Wait a minute. I'm an African-American. Brother John, and I'm staying in a five-star hotel, white-owned hotel in downtown Montgomery, Alabama. It was not that long ago that an African-American, a person of color, could not allowed to stay in a hotel, a hotel at that. And if you were an employee, that's the only time you could, and you definitely couldn't stay there and reside. So what I get from that is, wow, never take for granted. It hasn't been that long ago of the freedoms that we have gained. At the same time, to be able to grasp that freedom we have, never take it for granted, and to carry forward, to be able to create more of this plane of unity. Because I always say, if you don't know your history, I come away with, if you don't fully know your history, you only know half yourself. So own your history. Do not take it for granted. Know yourself. Know your history. Grab it. And go forward and go on and rise up.
Our day in Montgomery started out at the Legacy Museum, which displays in vivid detail the history of slavery and racism in America. It covers a startling history that ranges from the capture and enslavement of Africans to racial lynchings, segregation, racial bias, Jim Crow, the Civil Rights era, and mass incarceration. This slide shows our pilgrimage team walking around a reflecting monument of documented mass lynchings, and it was a foreshadowing of what we would experience inside. Here's our group standing in the lobby, where shortly after we had a very silent lunch upon finishing our tour of the museum and what we experienced inside, which is a 47,000 square foot museum that uses a combination of immense modern technology and world-class art to enable each individual to stand in close proximity to slave replicas, which model what it was like to travel across the ocean in the bowels of cramped ships, and what it was like to be an enslaved person waiting to be sold on the auction block. Sobering. We left the museum for a short ride across town to the National Memorial for Peace and Justice. This 6-acre memorial commemorates over 4,400 victims of racial terror lynchings. Over 800 steel monuments, each representing a county where a lynching took place, inscribes the names of the victims. Brother John and I took a seat next to this meaningful inscription, which he and I will now read for all of you. For the hanged and the beaten, for the shot, drowned, and burned, for the tortured, tormented, and terrorized, for those abandoned by the rule of law, we will remember.
With hope, because hopelessness is the enemy of justice. With courage, because peace requires bravery. With persistence, because justice is a constant struggle. With faith, because we shall overcome.
Finally, here's our group standing in front of jars of soil from different locations where lynchings occurred. The jars serve as living witness to racial violence and injustice, representing both the tragedy and the potential of new life and hope. The Equal Justice Initiative, through its museum and this memorial, is shining a light on a new era of truth and justice that starts by confronting our history of racial injustice. And Interwoven Congregations is bringing people of different faiths and races together to proactively facilitate this change. Back to you, Pat.
Thank you so much, Steve and Brother John and Nick, for his comments earlier, and Reverend Michael Brooks. Pastor Chuck Booker was going to be with us in speaking tonight too, but had a pastoral matter come up that he needed to tend to. So, but we were grateful for Chuck's participation on the trip as well. So number 4, in terms of sharing with you about Interwoven today, how is it that we support congregations? And I want to just flag 3 ways that we do so. Connecting with congregations personally, either in person or online, and then creating online events and tools for congregations to use. And then third, through the new Interwoven Congregations Network. And as some folks know, we're talking about the network and explaining its purpose by going to some trees. I'm imagining that you may have seen trees like this. I can't see the chat, but if you want to put your guess of what kind of tree is this, would you expect? And I'm gonna test your horticultural acumen here. So yes, these are redwoods. Some might have guessed sequoias. And what do we know about these trees? Well, they're huge, right? They're actually the tallest trees on the planet. The tallest redwood has been measured at 367 feet. That's the height of the Statue of Liberty, or a 35-story building. With that height, how deep one could imagine those root systems go. But no, their root systems are very shallow. They don't go deep, they go wide. And they go wide because the root systems of a redwood interlocks with the root systems of other neighboring redwoods. They connect, they actually exchange water and nutrients. And it is because of this interlocking network that these mammoth trees can stand tall and secure in the midst of the rain and the wind, when the ground in California literally shakes, when a fire rips through the forest, or other challenges that might descend upon them. These trees are stronger and can stay standing because of their networked root system. And that's exactly what we're seeking to create with the Interwoven Congregations Network, an interlocking root system between congregations, crossing over divides of race, tradition, even geography, so that we can mutually support one another in this time where it is as urgent as ever that we stand up as people of faith, or simply people of good conscience, and say racial justice is essential, it's necessary, and we're committed to making it happen. That's why we've kicked off this new network, and I'll share one more piece about that later on in our program. One of the elements of creating this network is connecting with people around the country. And I've been really delighted to meet some wonderful people recently in North Carolina. You're going to hear from 2 different groups of folks from North Carolina. But first, I want to introduce Harry Taylor. Harry is the creator of Trouble So Hard, a special event, a special production that, as you see, we are going to be streaming over two dates in November. Hope you can join us for those. But Harry, let me invite you on to say a word about Trouble So Hard, and then we have a brief trailer to share. And Harry, you might have to, I don't know if you're on mute.
You're right.
There you go.
Thank you, Pat. We use this short clip tonight, hoping you'll go join Interwoven on November 6th and 13th to view Trouble So Hard in two parts, as Pat just messaged. It mentioned its message and appeal are powerful, urgent, and timely. If you're nearby in the Carolinas, we'd love to do Trouble So Hard for you. If you're not, if you're remote, please pass the word. This recording is a must watch for those who care about peace, humanity, and equality. Early in the video you're about to watch, take note as we introduce the wisdom of Sankofa, the genius that makes clear that this has happened before. Why it's crucial to know that taking on the hard work to make the world better, as envisioned by Pat's Interwoven Congregations movement, we must listen to history. Go ahead and play the video, Pat, please.
Thanks, Harry.
And they brought their traditional notion of Sankofa. Look to the past to guide us into the future. Look at history to understand what might, could, or will happen next.
And before I'd be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. In 1684, a French physician contrived a theory he called race, that individuals could be distinguished by physical traits such as skin color.
The boy's name is Levi Coffin. What he witnessed that day would wed him and the Quakers to what would become known as the Underground Railroad, one of the greatest civil disobedience movements in the history of our country.
Follow the drinking cord, follow the drinking cord, for the old man is waiting for to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking cord.
Travel westbound on I-40 past Morganton to Old Fort, roughly where the Swananoa Tunnel begins its westward march toward Asheville. It was built beginning in 1876 entirely by convicts, most of them black.
Over the next 40 years, some 6 million black people left the South to build communities, churches, businesses, and schools elsewhere, and in so doing, reshaped America's racial distribution.
Do we find a way to get in the way of hate, dishonesty, ignorance, and greed, or do we privately tell ourselves it's not my problem? The truth is, racism is every human's problem, and we're at our best when we don't lose sight of each other's humanity.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see.
Harry, I'm going to drop our share so that I can invite you and Sandra Porter Thomas, who we are delighted to have with us this evening as well from Trouble So Hard. Harry and Sandra, again, thanks so much for being here to share a bit further about this important opportunity and presentation.
Good evening, Pat. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone for asking us to come and share a little bit more. Trouble So Hard. Harry, of course, has been said, is the one who wrote this and has been his passion for the last 5 years, but I'm sure it's been longer than that because Harry has been on this journey of justice and looking at social and racial injustices for many a decade. When I was approached by Harry to join him in this project, we didn't know exactly where it would go or how it would be. We knew that it was important, and we knew that reminding people the importance of remembering not just part of history, but all of history, and recognizing that African Americans have played an unprecedented amount of time and energy in building this country and in building these communities that we live in. And so Trouble So Hard is an opportunity to remember. It's an opportunity to begin talking more. It's an opportunity to allow whatever is underneath the surface to rise. Thank you, John, for that, for rising up. Because this is what we really and truly need, not right now, but for always. See, part of what happens is things get a little bit rough, and then we recognize we need to have change or do something different, and we all come together, we make some efforts towards that, and then the energy dies. And we don't remember, or better still, it was so hard doing all of that, sometimes we want to forget. So Trouble So Hard is here to continuously remind us that we cannot forget. We cannot allow whatever has happened in the past to continue to happen, and to always remember we are here for 7 generations to come. These are the footprints that we're leaving behind now. And 7 generations out, the same as 7 generations before us, we are standing and living in that right now. So we want you to take this to your homes, to your communities, to your schools, to however you can allow this to come forward. We would love to be there in person, wherever that is, but know that there is a way to continue to remember.
Thank you, Sandra. So appreciate you being here and being a part of this important presentation. Harry, any further thoughts from you?
Yeah, I'm often asked where Trouble So Hard came from, and I want to tell that story briefly if I have time, Pat. I don't need to. It was in mid 2019 that I began working on a performance I was going to call What They Sang, and it was the old songs and their backstories. I was going to do it with a Black woman, as I'd done in the past with Sandra and others, and in January of 2020, I found a marvelously talented young woman willing to give it a try. We began sharing songs that we favored, but 45 days later, COVID-19 reared its ugly head and the world screeched to a halt. I continued to fool around with What They Sang, but when it became apparent that we're in a long and unknowable siege, my potential partner returned to school to work toward a doctorate in musicology. I soldiered on, presuming that one day we return to some sort of normal. On May 25th, George Floyd's murdered by police officer in Minneapolis, and overnight rage erupted across the country and the world over yet another all too familiar killing. Not a week later, I found myself in a protest march, made a decision that this performance, Trouble So Hard, would be about the 499-year history of racism and white supremacy in our America. So the result is Trouble So Hard, songs and stories of slavery, freedom, and civil rights, of which you saw little chunks right there. Our appeal is we all learn to honor the wisdom of Sankofa to guide us into a better future than the last 499 years have been.
Harry and Sandra, thank you so very much for being with us tonight. So appreciate that, Harry. Looking forward to the two events in November where we'll be featuring Trouble So Hard, through the Interwoven events that month. Thank you again for being with us. I'm going to pull my slides back up because I want to round out this fifth element that I'm going to share with you about Interwoven Congregations this evening. I have to reset my settings here a little bit. And there we go. So number 5, what can I even do on the Interwoven network? I'm going to take about 75 seconds and just show you. When you pop onto the network, this is what you see. We have a water cooler because, well, everyone hangs out by the water cooler. We could have called it the kitchen, but we went with water cooler. And this is where you get the welcome, but also our member directory, a community chat and what events are happening. And if you go into the member directory, you'll actually see some of the folks who pop up who are in the directory. As I said earlier, today in a video, we have 82 folks who are on the network. We're driving to get to 150 as our next milestone. If you're not on, would invite you to join us. There's also the Congregational Toolkit, resources for congregations, and you're going to remember those building blocks of understanding systemic racism, building relationships across the divide of race, taking action, and then sustaining the work. We have congregational hubs. So for congregations who join, they get dedicated spaces where they can work on their racial justice efforts, but where, as we say, the network really starts to cook with gas is when you have congregations in partnership with another congregation, then they share a hub on the network. That becomes a space for relationship building, collaboration, planning, organizing, encouraging, and where a lot of synergy and engagement can take place. Remember those roots. This is the root systems coming together on the network. We also have geo hubs. Maybe you want to plug in with people who are in your geographical area, and so you can do so through a number of areas. If someone says, well, hold it, I'm from New Orleans, and I don't see a hub from New Orleans, bring a few folk onto the network and we'll set one up for you. And then finally, I just want to show you the topic hubs that we have. Maybe you care about a particular topic about racial justice. And here you can enter into discussions around reparations, pilgrimages, and so forth, and find resources around those particular topics. But I just want to point you to Music for the Movement. We just had some by Trouble So Hard, and of course from Brother John. But if you were to go into this, the Music for the Movement hub, you would also read about Meek Squad. This is a very specially gifted group that is based out of Durham, North Carolina. And during my recent tour in the US where we had 11 congregational forums in 8 cities. One of them was at Watt Street Baptist Church in Durham, North Carolina, which was co-sponsored by the Episcopal Diocese of North Carolina and their Racial Justice and Reconciliation Committee. So this, again, is the network in action, building bridges and partnerships. But I wanted to share with you a clip from Meek Squad because they not only are a singing group, but they are also activists who've been involved with the North Carolina Poor People's Campaign, most recently with Bishop Barber in Washington, D.C. I'm going to let you hear from the members of Meek Squad, and then they're going to offer a song.
Where else would I be hearing the stories of people who are impacted most by these policy decisions that are harmful? And so one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to do was there in front of the Supreme Court, getting to hold the microphone up to Sloan's computer while he gave a speech that he had prepared there at Memorial Monday, and just hearing his words travel out. So Sloan's got a few remarks prepared on his computer, and I'll hold the mic up now as well. So take it away.
Memorial Monday experience.
I don't usually like waking up too early, but I was up and ready to go for the Memorial Monday event. I liked gathering in the church and getting fired up singing with the choir. We marched from the church to the Supreme Court steps, and Lee, Sylvia, and I got to lead some songs while we marched. I really enjoyed all of the speakers at the rally and felt very honored by everyone there to have a chance to speak too. At the Memorial Monday rally, I said that the proposed Medicaid cuts would force me to move into a nursing home where I would do nothing but lay in a hospital bed until I die. And that would be what would happen to a lot of people with disabilities who depend on Medicaid services for the help we need in our homes and around the community.
There are 3 things that I don't play about are my friends and my family and my faith in the Lord. And I think that that day they were testing my faith. As the chief kept coming up one by one, asking the 9 of us that were there, because Pastor Freeman was there, and was telling us one by one that we could not pray in that space. And as he would leave and come back, I got fired up even more and more. So as I was the last one to close, I got louder over him as he was telling me I couldn't pray. And in that moment, you gotta remember the rotunda is big and it's huge. When I opened my eyes, I was the last one sitting there. And it was just me and Reverend Bishop Barbara in that space in the moment. Were there a little bit of fear? Yes. Was I in a little bit of fear of feeling like that I wasn't going to be safe in those moments? Yes. But at the end of the day, as I'm being escorted to the basement of the rotunda by 3 police officers, and their voices were very stern with me, there was also fear and a lot of sweat and heart beating and things like that. And as I was sitting there, waiting for them to figure out if they were going to arrest me or not, because they were hesitated to do it. And then he came over and he asked me to put my hands in the zip ties, which those zip ties were very intimidating. You could poke your eye out with those things. But I realized realized that the officer that arrested me did not want to give me eye contact. Because if you look at the photo of me being arrested, he did not want to look down at me because I think he felt guilty. But in that moment, I didn't feel bad at all. Because the people that are taking these things away, right, call themselves people of God. But you're wanting people to suffer more than we're already suffering because you want more money. So at the end of the day, I'm going to continue to get into more good trouble. And I invite you all to get in trouble with all of us because it is not done.
All right.
So I hope, we all hope to see you at a Moral Monday. Because we're going to be there and we're going to keep using our voices for what's wrong and what's right. Because we're gonna get what we deserve one of these days. Even if we have to keep going to Washington, D.C. or multiple places in the world and continue to get arrested for things being taken away that we, again, need. Thank you.
So just follow us and we'll sing this. It's called You Are Love.
From the top. You are love.
You are love.
You are charity.
You are charity.
You are wisdom.
You are wisdom. Humility.
You are patience.
You are patient.
You are beauty.
You are beauty.
You are meekness.
You are security.
You are rest.
You are rest.
You are gladness.
You are gladness.
You are joy.
You are joy.
Hope and justice.
Hope and justice.
One more time. You are love.
You are love.
You are charity.
You are charity.
You are wisdom.
You are wisdom. Humility.
You are patient.
You are patient.
You are beauty.
You are beauty.
You are meekness.
You are meekness.
Security.
Security.
You are rest.
You are rest.
You are gladness.
You are gladness.
You are joy.
You are joy.
Hope and justice.
Hope and justice.
You are joy.
You are joy.
Hope and justice.
Hope and justice.
Meek Squad. Their album, by the way, is on our network. If you go to that topic hub for music and the movement, as well as their interview, a story of a video story of their arrest in Washington, D.C. I have a bonus question for you. Where can I sign up and donate for the Interwoven Network and to support this work that we've been trying to share with you this evening? And again, I'm so grateful for your presence and the opportunity to connect with some of our partners and to describe this work that we're about. You can go to interwovencongregations.org, as again, Phyllis, I know, has been posting as well. And there you can, to sign up for the network, go to the network tab, and the first offering will guide you to a couple buttons where you can sign up. Then you can also donate here. We're grateful for your generosity. We cannot do this work without your support. There is more to be done. And so your support is vital in terms of our reaching out to more congregations and doing more in this day and time to promote racial justice and healing. Thank you for being here tonight and for helping in this way. We're going to close. Brother John's going to take us home with this tune from Sam Cooke.
I was born by the river in a little tent, and just like that river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. I go to the movies and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Then I go see my brother, and I say, brother, help me please. But he only winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Oh, there have been times when I thought I couldn't last very long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know for each and every one of us, change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will.
I want to invite folks to come off mute if you'd like and give a little amen or whatever you wish. But Brother John, thank you so much for lifting us up tonight with these wonderful songs. So appreciate that. Thanks to our board members who shared in the pilgrimage stories, for our partners, Harry and Sandra, the Meek Squad, and others who've been a part of this work around the US, and now increasingly, I'm going to be going over to Manchester and Birmingham this coming week to explore working with congregations in the UK. So much to be done. But thank you for your support and encouragement for us at Interwoven Congregations. We're grateful. Thank you for being here this evening, and we'll look forward to continuing to do this work in partnership with you. Thanks so much for being with us tonight.